that's great. Thanks, Tanya, for introducing us. That was a lot, but how about we show you what we do first, and then we'll get into talking about what the last 2.5 years has been like.
We here, and nothing can stop us. This is our destiny. They can't stop me now. Show up, it's about to go up. Yeah, I'm about to go nuts. Watch a player blow up. Yeah, the hustler know us. I would never fold up. And when they say it's over, I just come back and show up. And when the city roll up, I put it on my shoulders. And if they riding for us, no use in trying your luck. I was born with the hustle. I'ma grind through the struggle. I'ma shine like no other and raise my mat to new levels. We up. We up. We up. Was born with the hustle. I'ma grind through the struggle. I'ma shine like no other and raise my mat to new levels. We up. We up. We up. Was born with the hustle. I'ma grind through the struggle. We up.
So what my dad says is, oh, it's exactly like basketball. Yeah, that's what we do in esports. Brendan's down the end. Zach's right here. Zach's going to talk about from the team perspective. He represents the Wizards District Gaming in our league, and Brendan's, of course, been around since day one. So 2.5 years, long journey to get to this point with 21 teams, 126 players. Give us the baby steps.
Sure, I would say that at a basic level, just we're a very unique sports league as it relates to esports, and so oftentimes when people think of people playing sports games, they think of people playing one-on-one, kind of on a console. We took a very different approach with the 2K League, and so it is 5-on-5, 5 players. You saw 5 players playing 5 players, controlling every player on the virtual court. We went all in on esports. There's no artificial intelligence involved, and so. Yes, I mean now we've been a year and a half in. We have the best 126 players in the world. I will say that that's a pretty good glimpse into kind of the excitement of our studio, which actually is just in Queens here. So more than happy if you want to grab me afterwards. Happy to kind of get
It's free.
Exactly, come on in and experience for yourself. So it's been an absolutely exciting first year and a half.
Zach, from your perspective, you were one of the original 17 teams getting involved. Why were you all so excited? To go from a traditional sports organization to now dipping into esports?
So our company, Monumental Sports and Entertainment, is best known for some of our larger team brands. We own an NBA basketball team in the Washington Wizards. We own an NHL team in the Washington Capitals, about 5 other teams. We own and operate 4 venues in the Washington or Mid-Atlantic region on multiple media networks and make other investments. And what I think is so exciting about the 2K League is really an opportunity to engage with an entirely different fan base than what we see in our traditional stick and ball sports. Our professional sports teams have become great community galvanizers in our local regions, but they're still national brands and global brands, but we activate still on a local level. We're local, direct-to-consumer data warehouse businesses. And when I first started to learn about esports, which was now 5 or 6 years ago, I remember attending a couple of esport conferences, kind of similar to this, but I was asking a lot of young people who were playing the games, were they watching the NBA Finals? Did they track hockey? And the answer was overwhelmingly no. They had no interest because they weren't subscribing to cable, they weren't really integrated in sort of the traditional sports landscape. And so, well, what do you follow? Well, I'm a huge fan of Team Liquid. I'm a huge fan of Cloud9. I'm a huge fan of 2K. And so this is an opportunity, and I think the NBA is always one of the most progressive leagues in the world, always on the bleeding edge of new technologies and innovation. It's an opportunity to have a front seat with a brand new audience that if we weren't involved with, we'd really whiff on. We really would never have a connection to. So it's a really exciting opportunity for the NBA to extend the platform into esports. And I think it's been a great success through the first season and a half. Brendan and his team have done an unbelievable job. And when the opportunity came for NBA teams to volunteer and raise their hands to join in the inaugural season, I mean, it was a no-brainer for us.
And maybe the other thing too, what's really interesting is kind of the blending of the two. It's the blending of professional sports and esports, and really the learnings that can kind of so easily go across the table. So, obviously Zach and his crew in Washington, they're used to selling partnerships, creating great content, monetizing it, just knowing how to market a product. And then I think what we're excited about also is just the learnings we get from esports for just the accessibility of the whole thing. I mean, it's, you watch our broadcast and the chat is interacting with each other. They're interacting with the broadcast. We've now shifted a member of our broadcast talent group to just work on the Twitch chat and be feeding back what they're hearing in the Twitch chat to Scott and our color commentator, just kind of to make it even more engaging. And so I think what you're gonna see is a lot of traditional sports are gonna likely take some of those best practices from esports and integrate them into kind of the more traditional stick and ball broadcasts.
Yeah, I think if I could just add, I think the 2K League is representative of an inflection point in esports. Esports for a decade or so have been a very organic movement, born out of online communities of interest, people sharing the same passion, people teaming up in online forums to compete for prize pools and in tournaments and the like. And now esports is starting to graduate into that second chapter where professionalism is really a career path, and there's a new expectation that comes with professionalism. The NBA itself is a blue chip organization. It's as blue chip as it gets. When you work with people in the league office, it's like working with bankers or the McKinsey, the greatest consultants on the planet. And so combining the NBA's expertise with the publisher's skill set and Take-Two and a great game title like 2K, it really is exciting to kind of venture into this new world.
Yeah, Brendan, talk a little bit about that. Adam Silver calls this the fourth league. One of the most successful sports games of all time. Why did the NBA want to sort of marry those up and jump into esports?
So a couple of reasons. One is, at the end of the day, NBA in many ways is a media company, and so we're always kind of, to try to be innovative, we're always keeping an eye on what's going on and kind of what movement's been going on. So we've been studying this for probably 5 years, if not longer. And so we saw this opportunity that esports was creating. And secondly, we had the best-selling sports game in North America, second most globally, in 2K, and a great partner in 2K we've been working with for 20 years. And then, quite honestly, we had our owners, the NBA owners, who were in some cases already in esports or realizing the opportunity that existed, and they were pushing us to say, listen, we've got to get into this. We have so many natural ties to sports entertainment. This has great ties to sports entertainment. We should be exploring this further, and that's really kind of how Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of Take-Two, and Adam Silver got together, and the 2K League was born.
All right, so season one, the Knicks won, by the way, if you guys didn't realize. They were Cinderella story. What was the transition like from season one to season two, just based on your learnings? From a league perspective first.
I guess I would say the biggest learnings, the offseason was so quick, is what could we be doing differently? What should we, the good thing and the amazing about esports too is that the broadcast is so pliable. You're so able to, we were checking in with at that point Twitch was our exclusive broadcaster, having weekly calls and saying, hey, this is what the chat's telling us. They want this camera angle. They want this. They were, and so being able to be pliable and make changes immediately, that was a big learning for us. And so we applied it to the league as well. And so we made some structural changes. For example, we now, you saw the atmosphere in Long Island City and Queens that we have. It's this lively action, lots of excitement, trash talk, and the audience loves that. And so we realized we've got to get this out of New York exclusively. And so we've actually now gone on the road. We've taken 2 of our tournaments, one to HyperX Arena in Las Vegas, one we just had this past weekend in Orlando at Full Sail University, who's done an amazing job, by the way, of creating an esports program. And so we're starting to really, taking that show on the road and kind of, because everyone invariably, whether you're an esports expert or not, when you get in and watch our action, within 3 minutes you hear somebody say, oh, it's just like watching a basketball game, it's just like watching the NBA. And so, and to Zach's point, there's a major opportunity for us to connect with a younger audience. I would say both a 2K player audience, NBA fans, but then also what we're finding too through Twitch and YouTube is we're getting some people who are just on watching esports that are checking us out. They might be League of Legends fans, Overwatch fans, and they're just checking us out because they're curious.
What about from a team perspective? You did win the championship.
Yes, thanks for the reminder.
You're still in the hunt this year.
I hope we can do it. I hope we can compete for the playoffs. That's our goal with every team that we own and operate in Washington. I think that, like any entrepreneurial initiative, and this really is entrepreneurial in spirit, a lot of that first season is an education process. We're educating fans. We're educating our NBA traditional sports fans. We're educating our partners and our sponsors. We're trying to get the word out. And so heading into season 2, we're obviously incorporating a lot of learnings from the team level too. Our onboarding of players was much better this time around. The way we practice is a little bit different. We've incorporated more of our NBA, WNBA, or G League team services into our 2K League team this year in terms of medical, sports psychology, and the like. I think that's really helped our team that way. And then from a partner perspective, everyone's been excited about getting exposure to a millennial and Gen Z audience, particularly an audience that specializes in STEM and engineering and is very quantitatively savvy. I think that's really great. So building onto that story, and then now getting awareness out into sort of the larger local area of the Mid-Atlantic for us is a key priority. Starting to host more grassroots initiatives, trying to build out that grassroots marketing platform. And I think that aligns very well with where the league is thinking in terms of getting the gameplay out of the Long Island studio, getting it into different studios, and potentially even one day leveraging our facilities and resources. One day, I don't think it's too far-fetched to think about 2K League teams hosting home and away matches. It might not happen this season, might not happen next season, but eventually I do think we could venture into that direction, and we need to build up and prepare for that moment.
For y'all that don't know, they draft 6 players, and no one's playing at home. Everybody goes to the local market. So how do you leverage those 6 guys to build, brand awareness or even affinity in your local market?
We really try to get them out into the community, and a lot of our partners have been excellent in helping us to achieve that. We're hosting watch parties, we're doing autograph sessions, we're getting them involved with community service events, which I think is really important. And then we found that some of our partners have really enjoyed bringing them to the offices, hosting tournaments for employees, helping with recruiting. I've been amazed by, we work with a company called Leidos, for example. It's a blue chip engineering firm based in Washington, and they activated our 2K team at a job fair, and we shot up their recruitment efforts by about 300%. It was a huge hit for them because people are drawn to gameplay. Games are fun, and it's fun to be competitive. So we've really leaned on our partners a lot. And then we've used our in-arena assets too. We've set up an esports activation zone on our concourse level where people can demo the game themselves. Sometimes the best way to demonstrate the league is to put the game in their hands and let them play, and also start to get a glimpse as to how good the pros are and how much work they have to do to catch up.
Yeah, a lot of work. A lot of these guys didn't even meet each other until they were drafted, even though they might have played 5 or 10 years together. It's crazy. Now you were on, Brendan, you were on the team level for the traditional NBA, and then you toured all the teams. What was the differences like there?
Between
or
team,
similarities even?
between team and league?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I spent the first 12 years of my career working for different NBA teams, and it is very different. I mean, again, on the team side, you're definitely more. I mean, emotionally, every win and loss can can make or break your day. I definitely think it's a little different in terms of at the league level. What we're trying to do, at least what I'm really focused on, is trying to help these 126 players just to get prepared for not just gameplay, but for what they're transitioning into. And it's really important that we help them be successful. And so, I'll give you an example. Again, where the NBA is really an advantage is that we've done for all of our players, we'll do a rookie transition program where it's very similar to what we do for our NBA players, but helping them with just the transition. You're all of a sudden going to have people putting a microphone in front of you. How do you handle that? When people are trying to engage you socially in a positive or negative way, how do you handle that? And down to helping with them with finances, to living a balanced lifestyle, not playing 24 hours a day, but actually making sure. And a lot of our teams are doing this now. They're actually going as a team and working out together. They're watching film together. Then they're practicing, and it's not too dissimilar from their NBA counterparts. And so a lot of that is kind of helping them be successful both on and off the virtual court. And so I think it is a big help of for the NBA to be doing. And even, again, going back to my point about like kind of the ability of NBA teams to execute this, it's our community efforts too. Whether we're going to schools or youth programs or, really kind of creating our social responsibility efforts. That's something, we've been doing for 75 years. So, I mean, it makes it a lot easier for us to kind of implement those things into the league.
The age of the video gamer playing in a basement in solidarity, drinking Mountain Dew and eating Cheetos is over.
Those are my days.
It really is, and I think it's important to point that out. I mean, we are treating our 2K athletes like they're real players on any of our other organizations. Last week they were competing for $180,000 worth of prize money. We're investors and co-owners of an endemic team called Team Liquid, and they've competed in tournaments with a prize purse of up to $30 million. There are really high stakes here, and so these players are practicing 6 to 12 hours a day in some cases. Our NBA team can't practice for 12 hours a day. It would wear the guys out. It would be a CBA violation, I'm sure. So these guys are fully committed to their craft, and so every little thing matters. Working out, physical health, mental health, all of these things I think are really important, particularly when for some of our athletes, it's their first time leaving home, for replacing their college experience, or they're taking a year off from school to pursue the dream of playing professionally.
Yeah, it's quite eye-opening for sure. Now, I interviewed Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, in season 1, and I said, wouldn't it be great if we get all 30 teams? And he was sort of disappointed that was my goal. His goal is certainly much larger than that on a global scale. Can you talk about the future of the league coming up, Brandon?
Yeah, so I would say that's one of the things that esports gives us as an opportunity that really in traditional sports may not be as easy to execute. And so we think this is a global league. Certainly from a player perspective, it's already a global league. So we have 9 players now that are actually not from North America. What we're trying to do now is kind of to unpack that and plant seeds. And we think there's an opportunity. Certainly there's an opportunity for us to find players. So we've done tryouts, actual tryouts in Hong Kong. We did one in February. We're looking to do more tryouts internationally this year. And players actually can try out from all over the world, actually from home. They actually can try out through the actual game and try it out through the retail copy of the game. So players, certainly, listen, there's 1.5 billion people following the NBA on social across the globe. Certainly there's an opportunity for us to talk to that group as well. And then the last piece, which I think Scott's alluding to, is there's an opportunity for us to have franchises outside the NBA. So we envision a team in Shanghai playing Knicks Gaming, and that's our future. And so that we think it's a really unique opportunity for us that esports is unlocking.
What's the future of the Wizards?
I was just going to say that is an unbelievable differentiator from any other league out there, right? If we could have teams in Asia or Europe or South America, that's fantastic. And that's one of the inherent, I think, advantages that esports brings. That online connectivity has gotten to the point where it doesn't matter where you live. And by the way, your score is your score. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, what your sexual orientation is, religion, gender, your physical gifts, how big you are, how small you are. It's an opportunity to be part of a team-oriented environment. And I think those are the things we're really trying to champion in esports in general, and certainly at the 2K League. I think it was just an unbelievably fantastic development that the league is now officially co-ed. We have a female player in the league. The Warriors drafted one of the first female pro gamers in this league, and she's excelled. It's really, really exciting to see, and it would surprise me if we didn't see more of that moving forward in the future. So I think from a Wizards perspective, we certainly embrace that, and we want to champion those values too as the league moves forward.
And Chiquita up for ESPY, no big deal.
Exactly.
No big deal.
Yeah.
So you guys, on a traditional standpoint, went over to London. It was Knicks versus Wizards, but you also sent your esports team as well. I'm sure the esports route was maybe a little cheaper than the traditional.
Well, basketball and the basketball platform is global to start with. We also sent our WNBA team, and we sent some of our G League team over too. This is a basketball family and a basketball platform that we're trying to develop in Washington. I think we're one of only 3 organizations in the entire NBA that have teams in all 4 leagues.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
And so we really want to embrace that. And there are a lot of things that each of our teams can learn from each other. I've paired our 2K League coach up with one of our assistant coaches on the Wizards side, and they're trading plays with each other. And our assistant coach on the Wizards side is going, well, wait, do you think I could implement some of our playbook into 2K and I could give it to our players to take home and then they could see how to read the opposing defense through that? You think we could try that? I mean, you never get that collaboration elsewhere. And for many of our players, they love the game in their spare time too. So we love the crossover effect that all these leagues bring to each other.
Yeah, we have a lot of like G League staff that coach, you know, in the 2K League, because just like I broadcast, I'm on ESPN and things like that, but I do this league because for me, I get to do 20 hours of content instead of 3 hours of content a week. So, I mean, that's cool for just our organizations to be able to get, you know, coaching experience or managing experience.
And you did some G League action over the summer.
I did. This is true. Any final comments before we open up for questions?
No, I'd love to hear your questions.
Any questions from anybody? Yes, sir.
So I watched the inaugural draft last year on Twitch, and at the same time, the Mets were on Facebook. That was the Mets. But the viewership was comparable for a stretch. It was fascinating to me that a league that was just having their draft, not even into a game, was already, like the buzz was there. What was great about the draft is about the players, the individuals being chosen for the teams. The NBA itself is such a personality-driven league. We have our superstars, we have our celebrities. What are you guys doing as far as promoting the individual players? Are you trying to kind of elevate some because they can become a name brand themselves? Can that same concept of, you know, the name LeBron means a ton? Can you do that the same for the players in the 2K League?
So it's a great point, and I'm a Mets fan too, so I can appreciate that. No, what I would say is at our very core is where we made that decision. So, you know, when they're playing the game, they're not playing LeBron or Bradley Beal or Steph Curry. They're playing as their own avatar. And so, for example, our first overall pick, Dimes, is playing as Dimes on the court. And so, yes, we're looking to amplify their personal brands as much as we do with the NBA. So, and you're right, it's a great thing about the NBA. It's how the players have become so, omnipotent around the globe as far as personalities. I think that's one other thing I think you saw in the video we showed earlier. We think there's a great opportunity for these, and we think our players' personalities are fantastic, and we're doing everything we can to get them out there.
I think that's one of the key deliverables for us as teams and individual leagues. I mean, you don't have to be involved or know much about esports to probably have heard about Ninja, right? Ninja is this unbelievable personality that streams on Twitch. Twitch and YouTube enable individuals to be their own media networks. And so we need our players to not only be displaying the personalities, but to be having almost one-to-one interactions with their fans in the chat and responding to them, you know, at reading the actual question, responding in real time with video. I think that is tremendously important. And that's in stark contrast from the major 4 leagues, right? It would be very difficult to have that interaction with John Wall or Bradley Beal. We don't allow live streaming in our practices, obviously, much less the opportunity to talk to them while they're practicing. We want them focusing on basketball. So it's a key differentiator that we have to capitalize on.
We've also partnered with like AT&T to give like behind the scenes look. The access you can get to these players, much different than the guys that, you know.
Yeah, I think authenticity with the esports audience is so important, and credibility is key. And so when you get that behind the scenes content, you can get a little grittier, I would say. You can show the good and the bad, and that's good. It's reality, and it, you know, people like to see the comeback when somebody's struggling. People like to see a team win from behind. It was a great story when the Knicks won, as much as it pains me to say that, last year, when they were almost in dead last, and they won the ticket the last midseason tournament. And if you win that tournament, you secure a playoff spot automatically. They made the playoffs, won the championship. So good for them.
Yes, sir, in the back.
From a game design perspective, I was wondering, is it's sort of a two-part question. Where in the organization that sort of decision tree lives, but, you know, based on the idea that it's a pretty singular esport in that the game maybe started as a simulation game based on the real sport, and so is there any tension there, or where does that sort of decision making live on things that make the esport, let's say, balanced or, you know, responding to the meta versus truly a simulation of the NBA?
That's a smart
Good
question.
question.
So we made the decision early on that we wanted our players' skills to be the differentiator. So we decided to actually have all the players have the same kind of value skill set. So they all are 90 out of 100 in terms of their value. And where we differentiate is then we'll have five different archetypes at every single position. And so that's how they decide if they want to be a lockdown defender, or a sharpshooter, you know, or what have you, a glass cleaner. And so that's right now where we are in terms of, and I will say the tension is what we're trying to do now is try to figure out how do we get these 126 players are truly the experts of this game. I mean, they are, every time the game comes out and they're presented with the different archetypes, within 3 games they've figured out kind of the trick to perfecting it. So I think what we're trying to do is do we create more archetypes, and number 2, we're lucky that Take-Two and 2K are open to listening to our players, and so we're going to now give the players, hey, what badges should we be using to create the archetypes, and so we're going to get the players' voice involved, because truly these players are so good. We couldn't use the retail copy of the game. We actually created, the 2K created a Hall of Fame Plus version of the game that's not available, and actually something we're struggling with. We actually want to make it available in a retail copy of the game. But that's how good they are. And so 2K's been great that way, and so we're, I would say that one of the biggest challenges is trying to figure out how do we align with their development timeline. I mean, listen, they're used to like all year round creating this amazing game, which is most highly rated sports game in the world. And then how do we figure out a way to kind of, for them to work on the 2K League version as well? And so, but they've been amazing at being pliable. And every single year, we're actually, in fact, next week I'm going out to LA where their developers are to talk about season 3 adjustments.
Time for one more question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's 2 parts as well. First one for both of you. Do you think what you guys have created is uniquely suited for basketball, or is there a template that can be translated into other sports? And Brendan, I even wonder inside of 2K, has there ever been any thought of a virtual WWE? I mean, can it go that far?
Well, I guess as a company that operates in multiple leagues, including the NHL, I mean, I think the NHL is starting to think, what is next with esports? They're doing a World Gaming Championship tournament that's been quite successful. It's actually drawn some pretty interesting ratings on the linear side as well. I think that what the NBA has done from a professional sports team perspective is it's gone all in, and it's tried to match up the basketball as a platform as close to where endemic esports lives. 5 versus 5, individual players, no AI, showcasing the best talent in the world and really trying to build up these player personalities and the like, as opposed to a 1v1 format or a 3v3 format. And I think that that's where a lot of pro sports leagues eventually want to get to. And based on whatever their strategy is, it's just a different way to get to it. So we're very happy with how the NBA has rolled out the platform.
And to your second question around other titles, certainly. I mean, I think hockey and basketball lend really well to kind of to controlling all the players on the court or field at one time. I don't envy what the NFL is trying to get 11 players being controlled by people, and who wants to be the offensive guard. So I think that's a unique challenge they have to deal with. Then also it's trying to figure out, as the other leagues, like, do they want it to be a marketing vehicle to help promote their league, or do they want to go all in and be an e-sport? And that's the big difference in terms of what we're starting to see, trying to figure out what they want to be as an identity.
Last one.
Yeah, I'd just like to follow up on the comment made during the introduction about the focus on inclusion and diversity. I'd like to know how are we focusing on it, and then particularly, could you break it out by fans, by players, in addition to the one warrior player, and management?
Yeah, so the thing that's unique about when we first had our tryouts is all we had was gamer tags. And so we actually didn't know the gender of the players who were making it through the system. We didn't have access to that data. So we didn't know till our first draft pool that we didn't have a female in the draft pool. So I will say collectively we were really disappointed in that. And so we kind of seeked out we kind of created a multi-step process to figure out, okay, let's acknowledge that's not good. Now what do we do? So we did a couple things. One is we immediately commissioned a study to see, how do, kind of what was a woman's experience, through our combine, through our process trying out. What are women's feelings about 2K, about esports, and we did that. So that was a study we did, and then now what we're doing is we are, in addition to helping Chiquita be successful, who's with the Warriors, we're creating a smaller network of like top 2K women players, and we're in contact with them and talking to them, focus groups with them, and then we're also going to have a development camp, in late summer, early fall, where we're actually going to kind of identify 10 or 15 players and try to train them and have almost a camp where we have some of our current 2K League players, we have some of our coaches, and kind of help them get ready for the tryout. In addition, Chiquita, for example, we've connected Chiquita with some of our WNBA players, so they kind of that experience as a pro athlete, as a woman. And then your last question, which was around the breakdown of executives, I can't speak for everyone in the league, but there are certainly leaders, women executives in the 2K League. I can speak, our league, our head of business operations is a woman, our head of sponsorships. We have diversity and inclusion is an absolute core value of the NBA and of 2K, quite honestly. And so we've made it a high priority. It's not rocket science. You're going to be more successful as a business with a more diverse staff. And so we live by that, and that's how we are as composed.
I would echo everything that Brendan just said. The players on our 2K League team are majority minorities. And we were obviously disappointed that there weren't more female players in the draft. And I think that the league has a great plan for building out a female gamer platform to encourage and develop more female gamers. We'd love to draft a female gamer onto our team one day in the not too distant future. And I think from a Monumental perspective, again, we kind of span a lot of different assets, but we have a great complexion and makeup of our full-time employee base. I believe we're about 40% females in terms of our full-time employees, which I think is really, really great. Our esports division is a small one compared to the larger enterprise, but certainly it's an area of focus moving forward.
I call a lot of esports, this league's the most diverse by far, and happy to be a part of it. Appreciate you folks letting us hang out here. We'll be mingling around for a couple minutes if you want to grab us, but appreciate you.